Well, hello there. You and I, are going to make the Pioneer Woman's macaroni and cheese. I've made it several times. It is super yummy, good for the kids, and good for us. I'm gonna show you what all Pioneer Woman items you're gonna need to make this recipe, so let's get to it. All right, these are all the Pioneer Woman items you will need, or I use for this recipe. You will need the Dutch oven. I use a small colander, or you can use a large one, whichever one you prefer. This is also her Dutch oven as well, but I use it her pasta. I call it her pasta boiler. You will need a measuring cup, and you will see that I will actually use 2 of these. You will need mixing bowls to mix in her eggs, and if you do like I do, where I pre-measure my ingredients, you'll need 4 ramekins. You will also need her 1/4 cup measuring, and her 1 teaspoon, half teaspoon measuring spoons, her salt cellar with her kosher salt, and you also need her pepper grinder. And I keep some of my ingredients in these little jars that she makes too. So I have her ground mustard in the jar. You'll need this pretty dish. Let me move these so you can see them, to put the macaroni in if you would like to bake it. Oven mitts, of course, to get it out. And this is the star. This is like the only utensil you're gonna use for this recipe. A towel, of course, because you're probably gonna make messes. And the trivet to get the hot pan out of the oven. So that is all the items you will need of Pioneer Woman. Now let's go over the ingredients you need to make this macaroni and cheese. You do not need 2 pounds of elbow macaroni noodles. You only need 4 cups of them dry. You need 1 egg. You need half a stick of butter. Yes, that is a lot. 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. I have it in her nice, pretty little canister there. Isn't it so pretty? Anyways, moving on. You will need 2.5 cups of whole milk, not skim milk or any other milk, whole milk. You will need 2 heaping teaspoons, which means it doesn't have to be exactly 2 teaspoons. It can be a little over, and that is exactly what you need to have. You need 1 pound of your own shredded cheese. You can't get the store-bought shredded cheese because they add other preservatives in there, and so the taste will be different. So grind your own cheese, please. You will need half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of seasoned salt. She always uses that Lowry's, so that's of course what I've got. And you'll need 1 teaspoon of freshly ground pepper. So that's all you're gonna need. Let's get going. And today's recipe, I'm also of course using her cookbook holder because it is a dream, and it is in this Pioneer Woman Cooks cookbook. All right, so all I've done so far is preheat the oven to 350. It's still working on getting heated. I went ahead and started melting this butter, the half a stick of butter, in a medium low heat. And then I've already started getting the water, boiling for the noodles, and I've already started beating the egg. Another thing I like to do is I like to put it in order of when I'm going to need it in a certain pot. Like obviously this pot's only got the noodles there, and then the rest of the ingredients whenever I'm ready for it. But the batter is good and melted, so let's get started to the next step. So for this next one, I'm going to add in the 1/4 cup of flour, and of course mix it as I am putting it in, and then I'm going to whisk it constantly for 5 minutes. And I'm going to hold on to this 1/4 cup measuring because I'm going to need it later. So like I said, I'm going to be just doing this for 5 minutes now. While I'm stirring this water is good and boiling, so I'm going to add in the noodles, which it has to be cooking for 11 minutes is what the packaging said. All right, so it is kind of bubbling up like we want it to, and now we're going to slowly add in the milk and stir as we are adding in the milk. And also this milk is room temperature. Also, what we are going to do immediately after the milk is add in the dry mustard. And we are again going to stir this constantly for 5 minutes. So now we are done with this mixing in the milk. Now we're going to go on and mix in the egg. And how we're going to do that is obviously I've already beaten this egg, but we are going to temper them, which means we are going to add 1/4 cup of the hot mixture into the egg just so we don't make scrambled eggs in our macaroni. All right, so now we have tempered the eggs and we're gonna add it into this hot pot and hopefully not make scrambled eggs. And next, we are going to add in the cheese until the cheese is completely melted. So we added in a little over 1/2 cup of cheese, and now I'm just going to let this mix up and let the cheese melt, and then we'll be almost done. Okay, so since the cheese is almost melted in that other pot, I'm going to go ahead and drain the noodles. And now for the fun part. We are going to add in the salt, which I use kosher salt, the yummy fresh black pepper, whew, and seasoned salt. We're gonna add that all in and mix it together. Now we are to the best part, and we are going to add the noodles in to the cheesy goodness. So now we are finishing up adding the noodles to the yummy cheesiness, and we are gonna stir, and I went ahead and turned the eye off as well because everything's already hot and ready to go into the pan by this point. Now's the next best part. We are going to add all this mixture into this greased pan. And this pan, this Dutch oven is very heavy, so don't make fun of me. Shoot, wait, making this mac and cheese is a workout between shredding the cheese and then lifting this pan up to put in here. We are done with the hard part. Now, I'm just going to add the rest of the cheese that I shredded onto the top of this macaroni. All right, the cheese is on there. Normally I'd put more cheese, but I just had some cheese left over, so I didn't really shred it just for this dish. But now I'm going to stick it in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes. I had the macaroni and cheese in there for 25 minutes, and while it was in there, I went ahead and got the table set and got the rolls ready. These are just King's Hawaiian rolls. We absolutely love them. I know, carb, it's all good. So here's the table all made, and then of course, while it's in the oven, I also go ahead and clean up the kitchen so I don't have to do very much, and Junior helps. Hope you enjoyed making this yummy mac and cheese with me. I'm gonna call the family down and we're gonna have some yummy food. See you later, thanks for watching.